Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take another look here at Bitcoin, kind of see what's going on. Obviously doing very well today. It's really nice to see that for a good, nice change of pace, right? Tired of those red days, and it's a nice turnaround. And we're going to try to find out why, of course. And just to clarify too, it looks like the MACD convergence obviously came to full fruition. The price shot up, of course, after there was really more neutral news in, regarding, everything that's going on in the Eastern Hemisphere of the world, as well as the fact that there was really no updates at all on the Fed rate. They just kind of kept everything quiet. So since there was no, it was kind of anticlimactic, for lack of better terms, things continue to bounce back, right? Just that natural recovery from being kind of pushed down unnecessarily, right? So it makes sense as to why we're here. Now, if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, just love teaching people how to trade, feel free to reference CryptoCache.tech if you'd like to become a community member. And I have a trading academy, send out signals for every trade that I take. Really awesome experience there. Check that out in your own time. Taking a look here, though, at Bitcoin on the one-day chart. This is really awesome. I identified this yesterday, too, that we are holding above the 50-day simple moving average, which is a very, very good sign. Traditionally speaking, you look back at Bitcoin, it does very well when it stays above the 50-day simple moving average. Obviously, this was a news event here, but generally speaking, when it's above, it stays above for quite a while, right? Now, yes, we were above yesterday, or sorry, roughly a week ago, right? And at this point, we've stayed above the whole time. So this is a very, very good sign. The fact we haven't broken below that, to me, is ultimately a very positive sign. Now, once again, we're not out of the doghouse yet. It's a term I like to use if you're new to the channel, meaning that we need confirmation. To me, confirmation is going to be a close, not just today, but in general, overall. Well, first of all, above the most recent high, about 46,000 is a round number. I think that'd be a key start. But I do think 48 to 50 range would be much better. Okay, so big picture, it was still a little premature to think that we're going to just kind of take off. I think we're going to see a lot of resistance at the price point between 46 and 50. But once again, this is a very good start. Okay, so ultimately that's looking very nice here. Let's go ahead and see what else we can identify. We got effectively a bounce off of 50 on the RSI, never truly broke below, which I mentioned before. If we lose 50 on the RSI on the one day, that would ultimately be I wouldn't say a negative thing, but it would really, really put a damper on things and effectively, slow the progression down, right? Because again, we're still making higher highs and higher lows if you were to kind of go with the big picture here, right? This low right here didn't come lower than the average price, about 41,500 over the previous weekend, and that's a very, very good sign. So to me, all in all, we're looking pretty good here. And I know you can be like, oh, well, we're overextended on MACD. That honestly doesn't matter sometimes. I've seen MACDs run for months on end. So I don't think we need to really concern ourselves with that per se. Obviously, there's going to be a momentum shift eventually. If we can't break the plane, I would say, of 44,000 today, then we could potentially see some turbulence or, some potential issues there. But once again, it's too early to tell, right? And another thing to note as well is that we are seeing some resistance at about 44,400. It's key level resistance. If you take the previous one-day candlestick close on February 9th and 10th, then we're looking essentially good still, right? We got the push up there. We don't expect or shouldn't expect to just break right straight through that resistance level in the first attempt, but this is ultimately a much better sign than not. However, we just need to acknowledge the fact that there's tentatively a strong resistance at that plane, and if Bitcoin can't pass that in the next few days, we might see a turn to the downside. Once again, too early to tell. We need more data for that, but it is looking fairly good here in the sense that it's consolidating at a resistance here. This could potentially be, a type of flag pattern that could break to the upside once we have a little bit more consolidation. There's also the inverse that could apply too. It could be such a strong resistance that we're going to have to come back down. Now, we don't know truly specifically at this point, but why don't we take a look at TD Sequential and identify potential for exhaustion. And if we look at this here, we got a reset down to a 4, previously a 6. All well and good, right? That's normal stuff, especially in consolidation periods. That's weekend behavior. However, during the weekday, of course, we typically see this type of volatility where we'll usually hit a 9 somewhere on one of the charts. And right here, having a 9 on the 4 hour, to me, I'm not concerned with it per se, but it does signal that we should see a shift in momentum. Now, it may not be a significant shift. We probably shouldn't expect to see the price come straight down. What we could expect to see is the price go sideways in between 43,800, a key level Fibonacci retracement line, as well as 44,400. Okay, so if all goes well, we get some consolidation in this price point here, and then a leg up. That'd be ultimately the way that we want to see it. Okay, and that next leg up would want to be somewhere above 46,000 if possible. Okay, because to me 46,000 seems like a pretty big price point, a big point of contention there. And what I mean by that is we had a super strong support level here previously. And now, what do you know? Coincidentally, super strong resistance level. So those are things you just kind of want to be aware of. I think we're going to have some turbulence when we reach that point. In fact, why don't we take a look at this here, the volume profile of the last, just say 3 months. And we can see a tremendous amount of volume accumulation below the current price point. That's a good sign. That means 42,500 is approximately a very strong support range, right? So that's between 41.5 and 42.5. Had a lot of volume accumulation here and previously as well. That's ultimately a good sign. But what is a potentially adverse sign here is a strong amount of volume above the current price point. We want less volume above the price so we can get back into discovery mode, so to speak, right? Now, obviously, we're not in all-time high territory, but generally speaking, the concept is the same. So if we look here at 48,000, we can see between 46 and 50, pretty close to that 46 to 50 range, is a tremendous amount of volume from this previous area. So again, we need to we'll need to get back in that price point and average out a lot, but I think that's going to be a potential resistance here for us. And it's not to say the price won't come up into that area. It's just that breaking that plane of 50,000 is a close approximate, which is coincidentally really pretty much a key level Fibonacci retracement line as well. We probably see some turbulence or strong resistance at that point. But leading into it, of course, we'll probably see a lot of different stuff here. I think the first initial key that we need to do is obviously in the 1-day chart, break 44,400 immediately. We need to see that in the next couple of days. Thereafter, we need to see a 46,000 plus as well to kind of help us get that strength and volume into that price point to be able to hold that level. All right. So anyways, that's kind of just a general scenario there. But us being at a 9 right now, I would expect for the price to turn around marginally. It may not be a significant turnaround. There's no way to truly tell how hard it's going to come back down. But we do have a potential support here at 43,800. So 43.8 could be a nice little support. So if the price does consolidate in this channel, we'll be in pretty good shape. Even if it were to come back down to just say 42,800, we'd still be in good position because we'd still be making higher highs and higher lows, specifically on the 4-hour, which I think is important. But here's a key takeaway too. We shouldn't expect it to come down much further because the 50-day simple moving average is trending right around 43,300. That's presently, right? As the hours progress, you'll see that slowly work its way up. So that could effectively average out at 43.8 and make that the new support level. Once again, depends on how much of a turnaround we see here in the near future. But I would expect the price to retrace some, maybe not significantly, but some, within the range of 42.8 to, I would say, somewhere possibly 43.8. So I mean, we can pretty much just expect this to be a support channel, 42.8 to 43.8. That's basically what I'm getting at. All right, so all in all, that's good stuff. We want to see that. We need a little bit of consolidation after that strong ramp up from yesterday, and I think that would be very helpful. We take a look at the 1 hour, just kind of touch on this here. We came up to an 8, got a reset, back up to a 7, and then down to a 3 so far. So potentially, we have about 6 more hours worth of continuation to the downside, or it might just continue to go sideways. We never truly know how it's going to work. It depends on how hard it came up in the first place. This line right here would normally concern me. There's a tremendous amount of volume there, but that was almost necessary. And if you see the amount of volume too, it really wasn't that much more than this one here as well. We just saw a little bit more resistance. So as we gain more volume and get higher in price, you can see the bears are trying to push the price back down. Okay, so the bears are not feeling comfortable with the price point, anything over 44,400, because that was a previous area, which is why we need to spend more time at this point to be able to average the price out and to be able to get more volume upwards. Okay, so again, all good stuff here in a general sense. I don't see any problems. It's just that we're going to have this necessary pullback, and how far it pulls back is yet to be seen. We could see 43.8 in a bounce. We could even see the price come down somewhere closer to 42.8, or it might even just kind of hang out in this area here, because once again, the 50-day set moving average on the 4-hour chart is kind of trending around 43.3, and we could see a leg up from there. I think we're more likely to see the price increase in the immediate future than it were to decrease. But again, if we cannot break 44,400 in the next couple of trading days, that would potentially be a problem, as well as the simple fact that 46,000, I think, is going to be a key level resistance that we have to break. I would hope that we can get that done this week. I know it sounds like a lot to ask, but generally speaking, breaking 46,000 in the immediate future would be very, very helpful. Again, those are things I like to see to be able to feel comfortable and confident in Bitcoin's progression here. This is, in my personal opinion, a little premature to get celebratory, but on the same accord, we can acknowledge the fact that it does show good signs here. The technical data is there, but we can't fool ourselves yet because there is still, of course, some things in the news that are still looming. Something were to happen, some craziness. we can expect Bitcoin to take a dip, so to speak, from there. And to touch on the dip too, just say hypothetically it were to come down. If it were to come down, I don't foresee anything crazy below 35,000. I think that's probably the most likely bottom. That's just my personal opinion, the way that things are progressing. I think we're going to spend a decent amount of time in this channel, personally. Even if it were to come up a little bit, we could expect it to come back down. Now, again, it's not going to shoot to the moon. That's my personal opinion. I think 50,000, maybe 55,000 would probably be a best case scenario. Once again, this is a key level Fibonacci retracement level right around 55. That would probably be a better case scenario. Another thing to acknowledge too is we do pretty much have a tentative head and shoulders pattern, right? So what that basically just means is the price will come up here effectively, and it could reject off of 50,000, which is a likelihood, or it could progress even higher and then eventually dissolve. I think it's more likely though that Bitcoin will increase from here in the immediate future versus regress and retrace back down. I think that's more likely just based on the way these patterns are forming and the way that 50-day simple moving average is holding. These are all very positive signs. And once again, just to acknowledge, we did have a MACD convergence yesterday that I pointed out that was initially fizzled out, right? Because we had just this stagnant market, but it was kind of telling us we were going to expect to see an increase in price. Now, I did say, of course, to potentially be careful because the fact that the news wasn't released yet at that time. But since there was no news and that neutral sentiment overall, so to speak, we did see a strong turnaround and recovery in the market because that was due, right? You can only hold something down for so long before it tries to emerge, right? So again, that's another reason why I feel like pending no craziness in the news, say something doesn't happen in the world immediately, then we should be in pretty good shape to see Bitcoin continue to progress upwards. But I would love to see a close above 44,400 immediately. I think that's more important. We need to see that this week at the very least. If we can't close above 44.4 this week, it might be difficult to expect 46,000 or higher. Okay. Again, we'll take it as we get closer, but ultimately at this point, Bitcoin is looking good. So I'd say, be cautious. Of course, if you take long positions, make sure your stop losses are in place. You always have at least set 3 profit targets that are realistic. Obviously, if you're trading Bitcoin, you might want to consider a profit target that's below a key level retracement line or Fibonacci line. And in that sense, I would say, somewhere in the range of 45.7, 45.8 would probably be the best target to shoot for in the immediate future. But if we can consolidate a little bit further here, get that next leg up, I think we'll be in decent shape. But a one-day candlestick close above 44.4 would be extremely important to be able to break the most recent high. Because again, if the price just kind of stays right here, we could eventually see it fizzle out if it can't break that plane here soon. Okay, so we need to get that momentum, so to speak, here and continue on. I think it's prepared and ready to go. But all the technical data here tells us very good stuff. There's ultimately nothing negative I see here, minus the fact that the news is the news and we can't control that. If that were to happen, it could very well send a downward progression, but we're more likely than not going up from here than we are going down. Okay, so I hope that is helpful for you and you understand generally what I'm getting at. I hope you learned something here today as well. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll look forward to seeing the next video. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.